Good morning. Hello, and welcome to the Slow Flower Show with Deborah Prinzing. I'm so excited to be here today. It's Wednesday, and we have episode 528 for you. And I'm excited to introduce you to Eileen Thompson of Orlando-based FarmGal Flowers. As you know, October is our month to celebrate our Slow Flowers members, and one of our goals is to showcase and thank as many of our premium level members as possible, our top supporters. Today we're visiting Eileen, as I mentioned, coming to us all the way from Orlando, Florida. As a farmer florist, Eileen has experimented with a number of channels to market the flowers she grows, but she's honed in on two key portions of her business, teaching workshops and designing for events. When I asked Eileen to join me during Membership Appreciation Month, Eileen suggested giving us a design demonstration during the interview. You'll meet her and learn about how important it is to have a robust workshop schedule all year long, season by season, to satisfy customers eager for ways to connect with locally grown flowers and to learn more about gardening. Eileen and I recorded this conversation and demo a few days ago, and I know it will get you thinking about harvesting and holiday workshops that you can offer. I'll share the video of this replay and the audio of our interview, along with photos, resources, and social media links for FarmGal Flowers in next week's Slow Flowers podcast episode. The show notes for episode 528 will be at deborahprinzing.com. So let's jump right in and meet Eileen Thompson of FarmGal Flowers. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the Slow Flowers Show. And I'm Deborah Prinzing, the host and also the founder of Slow Flower Society. And I'm so thrilled today to introduce my guest, Eileen Thompson. Hi, Eileen.
Hi, welcome to Orlando.
I know Eileen is the owner, farmer-florist of FarmGal Flowers in Orlando, as she said. So I'm in the Pacific Northwest, you're in the Southeast. We couldn't be farther apart. I'm wearing a turtleneck. You're in this like cute cotton dress.
I know, I'm like starting to sweat already. It's midday here, but it's all good. I'm used to it.
Actually, I'm glad you moved under that overhang because you would have been baking out in the garden. Well, in honor of Membership Appreciation Month for Slow Flowers, we're really trying to shine a light on some of our most established, invested, supportive members and premium level members. And Eileen has been involved in Slow Flowers for so long. And before we go into the conversation, I have to give you a little shout out. Some of you might remember this beautiful book we did last year in 2020. Called Slow Flowers Journal. And if you recognize this beautiful fern gown and headpiece, this is Eileen's creation, all Florida grown, and your adorable daughter, Isabel. That was in 2019, I think, that you produced it, right?
It seems like it was yesterday, but I guess, yeah, a couple of years have gone by.
Well, it's great because I see you're using Florida grown foliage and ferns because of that connection in a lot of your projects.
Yes, so. I do. I mean, I really try to promote other local growers because people still think, you can't grow flowers in Florida, but we have this amazing industry of foliage and actually succulents too, which I'm going to talk a little bit about today. So I'd love to share all that information about Florida grown products.
That's great. I'm so glad. So Eileen, for people who maybe haven't met you before, give us a snapshot of FarmGal Flowers and all your kind of facets of your business.
Sure. So as Deborah said earlier, I'm a farmer florist. We grow almost all of the flowers that we use for our design work. If occasionally we have to source from other flower farms here in the U.S., but we primarily grow all of the flowers we use. We mainly use our flowers for our events and parties and for our workshops. Those are our two main services that we offer. And our workshops are very popular. We're starting to roll into the holiday season, which I get very busy during this time of year. So yeah. That's a little bit about us.
I love it. Well, I've got lots of questions, but since you've got some show and tell, I think we should jump right in. We are in, almost to mid-October, and I'm sure that the holiday season sort of harvest and and later in December, activities are ramping up for everybody. But how do you structure your workshops, and like how many do you have a year, and how do you pull it all together?
Our workshops, as I think I said this earlier, they're very popular for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So it's a really busy time for us. I teach at a couple of locations here in Orlando. Today I'm at the Edible Education Experience. We have some classes lined up here. I also teach at East End Market, which is where I grow flowers as well, and at our local botanical garden, which is called Lou Gardens.
You're in demand, and we're going to talk about your own garden at before we wrap up, because I know you've got long-term plans for that. So
Yes,
what
yes,
is that gorgeous little basket that you've got on the stand? Tell
yes.
what workshop is this?
So I've recently, people have been coming up to me, when are you doing the Thanksgiving cornucopia? So I thought I'd give you guys a sneak peek at this really fun project that highlights locally grown foliage and flowers. And it's pretty easy to do at home. So I thought I'd give you a short lesson on that.
Yeah. So
Um,
when people come to the workshop, you have everything sort of set at every place where they don't have to, they just show up. They don't need tools or anything.
Right. Most of our workshops are all inclusive. I do have one workshop, the succulent pumpkins, where I do ask the student to bring their own pumpkin because I learned quickly carrying 30 pumpkins is very difficult. So that is the one class they have to bring something to. But yes, for most of my classes, they're all inclusive. Like for this one, I provide the cornucopia, which I get from the wholesaler, and the little pumpkins are easy to transport, so that's okay. And the succulents are from, we have a lot of local, not a lot, but several local succulent nurseries nearby that I work with. A lot of people don't know that a lot of these succulents that are getting shipped out across the country are from the Central Florida area. The straw flower I grew, I dry those in the off season, and we use them for lots of projects, especially in the fall. And just some pine cones, that we've picked up along the way. You do need some floral snips. I like to use some, they call this cold glue for this project. And then you also just need some moss. And yep, that's pretty much all the elements. And should I go ahead and start building for you?
Yeah, I'd love to see it. So when you said the baskets at the wholesaler, like a regular floral wholesaler would carry an
Yes.
assortment of baskets, and this one is kind of harvest cornucopia shaped.
Yes. And I've also seen them, at your local craft stores too.
Okay,
Okay.
so I love this cornucopia idea. I think it applies anywhere from like October through the end of November, so you've got a lot of use of it. How do you put it together when you're actually in the workshop?
So first we start off with a layer of moss, which I've stuffed the cornucopia with, and then I've added a layer to the bed. There is a little plastic liner inside. So this creates a nice layer for our elements to sit in. I always like to start with the biggest elements first, and I also like to work in odd numbers, which is kind of a design, a common design theory. So, of course, we have to add a pumpkin. So
Are you getting these mini pumpkins from like one of your uh, farms and growing
Yeah, I try to
partners?
get them from the farmers markets that are around. Yeah. And then I like to find a nice big succulent to put in here. This one still has a stem on it, which will make it easy to place, into the moss. So I don't necessarily have to glue this one in.
Can you bring it up to the camera just to show real quickly what it looks like?
Sure, it's a nice, pretty rosette.
Oh, lovely. So
Yeah.
you've taken it out of the pot and removed all of the soil.
Yeah, I just cut this out, and and don't worry about this plant. this succulent can still be reused when you're done with your cornucopia. These can easily be transplanted and they will grow. We're not killing, I want to make sure we all know we're not killing this plant, by adding it to the cornucopia. We're just borrowing it, bringing it inside, enjoying it for the season. But then I usually, my students and I will usually replant these into a pot. I give them instruction on that actually as part of the workshop. Or they drop them off on my doorstep and I replant them.
That's cool. I love it.
I do like to place these out front because people love to see them. They're kind of like these are like your focal flowers in this arrangement. And then I have a little gourd here that I'll probably place it right here. Now that one is moving a little bit, so I'm going to add a little glue to that to keep it in place.
Yeah, that's really amazing. It really doesn't take a lot of gardening skills for someone to come to this workshop. They pretty much get the idea when they watch this.
I do I do tell my students to kind of think of it as creating like your own little miniature garden, in this cornucopia. So that seems to help them kind of plan it out. I am also going to, I like to have a variety of elements, in these cornucopias. So I am going to add this pine cone as well, maybe in the back here. And from here, what I like to do is add the smaller elements in, tuck them into these green spots that you can see. So as I mentioned earlier, I do cut these succulents out of here, but no worries. We're not killing them. We're gonna still we're using them for this centerpiece, but then I repot them later and they still take off and they do very well. I was lucky because this little pot had three succulents in it. So,
three little friends all in one pot, right?
Right. And I like to cluster them together like this. I feel like they make a statement in their little cluster of three.
And are you attaching to the mini pumpkin or to the moss?
Oh, yes, I'm gluing them right into the moss.
Wow, that's great.
And this cold glue does not affect the succulents at all. It doesn't kill them. They're fine. They will still grow with them. And again, I have another little 2-inch pot of succulents that has 3 in it. I do find with these taller succulents, sometimes if you take some of the bottom petals off, they'll stand up a bit easier in your cornucopia arrangement. So for this one, I'm going to spread it out a little in another location.
You do so many amazing things with succulents. It's sort of your signature design, one of your signature plants that you're using with FarmGal flowers. I love the holiday tree that you do. People go crazy over that.
Yes, that one was. Let's not talk about that yet because people will start. It's very cute. Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Oh my gosh, I think it was one of those trending images on Instagram when you posted it, and then we reposted it. Okay, we'll stick with the pumpkin and the cornucopia because we're still in October. I'm getting ahead of myself. Eileen, can you talk a little bit while you're designing? How do you price this? How do you price this workshop, and who are your customers for these workshops?
Oh my gosh, it has a very broad market. If I market this as a girls' night out, like a Thursday night girls' night out, it sells out like so quickly. However, on Saturday mornings, I'll have grandmothers come in with with one of their grandchildren, and they work on it together. So these projects really appeal to a variety of ages and I've even been asked, why don't, can you do a date night? I haven't done
Mm-hmm.
that yet, but that's another idea for this.
I just think that workshops continue to surprise us. We think that they're like run their course, and then a new crop of fans discover you and want to know what you have next. It's a good way to engage with people who don't realize that local flowers exist in your community.
Yes. I just want to mention right here, this is kind of like a trailing succulent. And for this, for the cornucopias, I love to like kind of, the trailing succulents are great because they kind of lead out, onto the table. You could make these longer if you wanted. Um, let's see, I'm going to start adding some some of our straw flower into this cornucopia, and that'll help bring out some color and highlight the orange pumpkin. One thing I want to mention about at this point for this project is, this is a very forgiving project. Like, I almost put this straw flower here, which I quickly realized that is not a good spot because it'll look like two eyes looking out at you. But you can easily just, take this and move it. It's nothing's
Mm-hmm.
permanent here. And I think that's one of the reasons this type of project and our other succulent workshop appeals to people, because you can start, if you don't like it, you can, rearrange it. It's easy, it's easy to do. I
Right,
think
and
I'll just tuck that one back there.
even that glue can kind of be peeled off of a pumpkin if you decide, oh, I don't want the flower there.
Yes, that is very true. This,
Even
I don't
though,
know if you, I do share a lot of tips with my students about this cold glue because, have you worked with this before, Deborah? The cold
yes,
glue?
it's a little bit.
Yeah.
Your fingers will be covered.
Yeah, it's very liquidy. Um, and I tell them it's almost easier just to let it dry and peel it off your hands afterwards. But I think once, after you've worked with it once, and you realize the consistency of it, like I hardly have any on me right now. Once you get the hang of it, then it's
Mm-hmm.
easy. I have some dried gomphrena here from that we grew in the past. So I'm going to add like a couple of those on here, and we are almost done with this project. You could, this is another project like where you could, you can stop if you feel like later on you feel like you need to add to it, you can still do that. It's very long lasting. I teach my students how to care for this during the workshop, what to do with it afterwards. And I think they like how, they can still grow the succulents afterwards too. That they're just not like, throwing this away. They have something that's going to last.
I agree.
So
That's wonderful.
there, I mean, that was a quick one. I guess I'll bring it up close for
Yeah,
you to
let's.
see.
Oh, that's
Um,
charming.
but
Oh, it's
it's just,
so abundant with all
yeah,
the.
it's colorful. You could add, as it gets closer to Thanksgiving, you could add, of course, fresh flowers to this. You could put the stem in one of those little what are the little pits that they,
Yeah.
with
Mm-hmm.
water in it, and
Mm-hmm.
just slide that in here if you wanted to do that. When those flowers are done, take them out, and you can still enjoy it. Yeah. So
And
that's our
it's wonderful.
cornucopia.
It represents so much value for the student too, because they are going to enjoy it for weeks. They are going to plant the succulents if they choose to, and they can
Mhm,
save the
mhm.
basket for next year and come back to one of your workshops and have a
Yes,
do over.
and that, I'm glad you bring that up because, we do try to have, sustainable practices within FarmGal Flowers. And I do encourage our students to bring back, for this cornucopia next year, even their wreaths, the
The base.
wreath frames
Mm-hmm.
that when we do Christmas wreaths in December, I encourage them to bring them back because I hate to just throw things away. So
Mm. Thank you
yeah.
for that. So let's talk a little bit about you and your path. Can you share your path to Farm Gal Flowers, because your business is about 6 or 8 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, we're at 7. I actually just looked it up yesterday. Someone
I
asked me
thought
yesterday.
so. I remember when you first came on my radar. Yeah.
Well, I had originally, I've been a gardener, most of my life. My parents were avid gardeners. I'm not sure if I shared this story with you yet, Deborah, but I'll go ahead and tell it. One fall, I guess 7 or 8 years ago, I had all my beds prepped for the vegetables, and my mom gave me a packet of seeds that I think that she got in the mail or in a magazine when they used to do that for free. And she gave them to me because she doesn't throw anything away. And I just kind of threw them in at one of the beds that was prepped, and planted them. I didn't do a whole much, and they just grew and grew and bloomed and bloomed. And it turned out they were a packet of zinnia seeds, and which, in retrospect, that was very fortunate because their zinnias love heat, and they grew very well here without much help from me at that time. So I just became obsessed with flowers after that. And slowly the flowers took over our gardens, and my husband was like, "Where's all the vegetables?" But I decided to learn more about specifically growing flowers in our zone. I'm in 9B, by the way. And I went out to your area, to the Pacific Northwest, and learned all about, growing flowers. Around the same time, some acquaintances of mine were opening East End Market and putting a 3,000 square foot market garden out front. And they asked me if I'd like to grow flowers there. And I didn't have any space, at the time. So it was like the perfect opportunity to try this out. These people were very into helping young businesses grow as well. So it really was just the ideal circumstances. I just telling you this story, I'm reminding myself of how lucky I was, how this all just kind of like, this all just happened to me.
But you were willing to dive in. I mean, it wasn't like you had a business at the time, right?
No, I was not. I just loved to grow flowers and vegetables, and so I started growing flowers at the market. People wanted to buy them. Some of the vendors in the market, were interested and, used, and they also have a teaching space at East End Market. So that's how I started rolling into teaching. I love, my background is in teaching. So that's something I've always loved, and then love even more, teaching about gardening and flowers.
Right.
So that's just how it all kind of came together. And I also love working with other businesses in my community that share, values, like East End Market and the edible education experience and all these local nurseries. So I'm fortunate that I have all this community around me that supported me and, through the years.
So, I know we described you as a farmer florist, but from a florist point of view, you're a studio florist. And
Yes.
I was sitting here, I just showed, your botanical couture fern gown that you created for American Flowers Week that we published in Slow Flowers Journal. And I'm like, wait a minute, she's in my other book too. So this book that came out earlier this year, Where We Bloom, which is all about floral spaces for growers and designers, sort of where the magic happens. There's a wonderful profile about Eileen and her flowers, and those are the dahlias we were talking about. But I love seeing how you make your studio space work in your home. And so you don't have a retail space. You don't necessarily even have a U-pick or anything. So how do you integrate? Right. That's why you're partnering with these other kind of green venues, right? Because you're not necessarily open to the public.
Right. I don't have my own classroom. And I'm fortunate in that these places I mentioned earlier have classroom space or garden space. I love to teach outside too when it's feasible. That they let me teach at these locations. Thanks for showing my studio space there.
I love it. It's like it's like living on a ship. You've got a little cubby for everything.
Yes. Unfortunately, I have kind of outgrown that space. And last year, with everything going on in the world, and I had more time, I thought, oh, this is a great time to start thinking about the new, bigger space, that I feel like we need. And so we are moving towards that, building a new studio space for myself. It has taken a little bit more time than anticipated with, delays and materials and things like that. But we are getting there now, and yeah, hope to share that with everyone in the future.
Yeah. So tell me, you mentioned it to me that it was like a floral studio. It's in your garden, right?
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
you had room for it.
Yeah, we've got the walls up now, and yeah, I have been teaching a lot more online now, and that studio space that you showed earlier is part of my home, and it's okay for teaching online. I've learned it's not 100% ideal with the lighting, and of course, with, as I said, it's part of my house, so we have animals and children and all these things, and the doorbell ringing, and so I'm looking forward to having that new space where I can really concentrate and focus on. I do some small group online classes, and I think it'll be a really nice setting for those classes.
Wow. You're giving us a little preview, so I'm excited to see it. I promised you that we would do something about it when you get it complete. Maybe we'll have to be in the next studio floral book.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, what are the dimensions?
I think it's 16 by 20.
Wow.
But we did recently decide to add like a front porch area, so I could teach outside there as well when the weather, when the weather is nice here most of the year. It's just the summer that's a little brutal, but we decided to go ahead and add a little front porch space as well.
And then what is your growing? So is this adjacent now to where you're growing? You must have about an acre then, right?
Yes, at our yes, that property has about 3/4 of an acre. So we're actually redoing all of the beds there. Had I known this process would take so long, the building process, I probably would not have. We took out a lot of the beds already. Had I known, I probably wouldn't have done that.
Right.
But that's okay. And then we also grow at East End Market.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at least you have your annex at East End Market, so you weren't without.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So
we did grow in a third location a couple of years ago, but it got as your business grows, you learn about it got a little bit hard going to 3 different locations. So 2 has been more manageable for me, but yeah.
That's exciting. I mean, I think about you coming to this profession as an avid gardener. You had no big master plan. You just sort of followed your curiosity to what you loved, and the business kind of evolved from that, right?
Right. In the beginning, the first, couple of years, of course, you say yes to everything when people want you to do this or do that, and you say yes, which is good. It was a good experience because you learn what you're good at, what the market wants, what keeps the business afloat. So I did learn, after a few years, as I mentioned earlier, we have really scaled down our services to 2 primary avenues, the workshops, and then doing flowers for events and parties. So I learned a lot, the first couple of years, and now that's primarily what we focus on. Fortunately, those are the 2 areas that I love, and it's also what my market is really, that's what they seem to be most interested in, and it keeps me very busy all year round.
That's really interesting, that combination, because in the past you have done a CSA, haven't you?
Not a CSA, but we did sell, I've tried selling flowers to other florists. I would sell it wasn't really a CSA, more like a consignment, selling
Mm-hmm.
bouquets on consignment at other local businesses. I've done that as well. I tried doing farmers markets, but it is really hot here. And it was tough, the flowers wilt and, so,
Right. It's not
so
easy to keep them looking perky all day long.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that can be that was very challenging. So, we like, yeah, we've tried different, I've tried different things and just, worked out what works best for the business and for me.
Yeah.
And, I have a family too. So yeah, what
Well,
works with them.
yeah, the workshops are great because you kind of have this following of, as we talked earlier, people wanting to come to your next, what's next, or get on your calendar. In a given year, how many workshops are you offering?
On an average year, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, we're not going to count last year.
Yeah, let's not count last year because that was, yeah. Oh my gosh, Deborah.
Like once a month, kind of thing.
No, more than that, especially like during the holidays. I don't know, maybe 20 to
Wow. Yeah.
30. Also, it just depends. I get private groups that reach
Mm-hmm.
out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've done corporate grand openings, corporate team building, there's a lot of different organizations that like to have workshops,
And
for their
I love
businesses and
that.
employees.
Yeah, and also like you have this menu of projects, and they can adapt to the level of customer need. Like you said, the team building, you're going to have a lot more more sophisticated curriculum than maybe just an after school thing for kids. I mean, it's wonderful that
Yeah.
the project can adapt to the student.
Yes, on my website, I have a page that says workshops and events, has my current workshops, but then also all the workshops I've taught in the past. So if a client contacts me, I can refer them to that page, and they can, identify which type of project they're interested in, and they can see the ranges too, from, easy, quick projects like succulent bowls, or all the way up to like a flower bar,
Hmm.
and we do like a whole floral arranging
Wow.
type workshop.
Wow.
So,
And then I want to ask you just before we wrap up on, because
yeah.
this just came up on our member meetup on I guess Friday, where
Uh-huh.
people were asking, like, how do you get corporate work when you're
Mm.
doing events? Is it primarily for, it's not weddings as much as other types of events, right? I mean, that's a niche that you've really built.
You're asking about the corporate
Yeah,
events? Is
because
that
you don't
what?
do what you're
Yeah.
not really going after weddings, right?
We do smaller weddings and more like the farm to table
Mm-hmm.
style, just
Okay.
because we actually don't grow a lot of white flowers. So my flowers are all bold and bright colors. So
They are.
that kind of has to be the look they're going for. It's not that I don't like white flowers; they attract the bugs here. The most bugs here, so that's part of it.
Right.
But yeah, we do some weddings. They're usually smaller and more local,
Okay.
to where we are. And then as far as like corporate type workshops, one or two reached out to me, and then it kind of just picked up, snowballed from there. We worked with the Ford Company, Orlando Magic, Williams Sonoma, Pottery Bar, and like it just, I don't know. I guess the word just kind of gets out.
Well, I think that's right. I've seen you do some of these co-presentations with lifestyle retailers like Pottery Barn and
Yes.
Williams Sonoma.
Yeah.
You're bringing beautiful flowers into their retail space. Why wouldn't they want you there? And it's sort of a
Aw.
customer perk. It's a good brand affiliation for you too, right? I mean, that's sort of an
Yeah.
endorsement from them.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough, actually. Let's see, this was just last year, also to work with, surprisingly, Chico's clothing company. But they were rolling out some lines of clothes that were were themed on famous gardens around the world, and so they wanted to showcase flowers with that. And I never thought I'd be like wearing people would be sending me clothes to wear, but
I saw that. That is so
yeah,
cool.
it all worked out, and I did some live demonstrations for them. And yeah, I'm glad. It was a great experience to work with like a big national brand like that. But yeah, it's something I didn't think would happen for me.
Well, so this just came up when we had on the meetup last week. Tony Reale from
Oh
Roadside
yes,
Blooms, who you know,
yes, I
was
love
talking
Tony.
about some of the corporate sort of ongoing corporate contracts she had for like weekly bouquets or customer
Oh yeah,
appreciation, and
yeah.
we realized we should do a big roundup article on how farmer florists and florists can work with corporate clients because it is lucrative
Hmm.
and it can be recurring income. So
Yes.
I'm going to tap you for that article too, because I think what you've just described is completely different than what she described. And, I have other few people in mind who can really, it's so local, it's so focused on your community that you're not really, you're not really, you have to be kind of creative to get to tap into those, clients that are just sitting there looking for someone and they don't even know you exist and they see your flowers and then the ideas come along.
Yeah, oh, I'd love to be a part of that. I think probably one of our stronger points, related to the workshops is I really try to make our students feel like they can do this project, do it well, and then they have something that that they've accomplished and they take home with them and they're proud of. And so I really, try to make that connection with them during the workshop, and I think that has made all the difference with them.
That's wonderful. Well, this has been so much fun, Eileen. I love visiting you virtually and seeing you're getting me in the harvest spirit with that project.
Yeah.
When we share this as the podcast next week, I might ask you
Mhm.
for a few more photos of some of your
Of
workshops
course.
or your projects so that people can find them in the show notes at deborahprinzing.com, as well as finding your website, your social media places, and making sure they follow you if they don't already. I
Thank
just
you.
I just appreciate you so much. And when you said you say yes to
Likewise.
everything, when you say yes to everything, you almost always say yes to me. So I am very
Of
grateful.
course.
I'm grateful for your support and thank you so much for letting us visit with you this morning. This has been beautiful.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care, Eileen.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye. That was great. I'm ready to go get a cornucopia and cut up some of my succulents and fill it for my to keep me going till Thanksgiving. It was really great to meet Eileen again and hear her story and see some of her talent. So thanks for joining me. Before we wrap up, I'd like to share some sponsor thank yous. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 880 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor for 2021, FarmGirl Flowers. FarmGirl Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting more than 20 U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $9 million of U.S.-grown fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. You can learn more at farmgirlflowers.com. Thanks also to the Gardener's Workshop, which offers a full curriculum of online education for flower farmers and farmer florists. Online education is more important this year than ever, and you'll want to check out the course offerings at thegardenersworkshop.com. Thanks to Roadie, an on-demand delivery company offering affordable same-day and scheduled deliveries with a network of friendly local drivers who handle each delivery with care and one-on-one support from a designated account manager. Roadie guarantees a smooth and reliable delivery experience for your flowers from pickup to delivery. Sign up for your first delivery at roadie.com/slowflowers. Use the promo code slowflowers as one word and you'll get $5 off. Our final thanks goes to flowerfarm.com, the leading wholesale flower distributor that sources from carefully selected flower farms to offer high-performing fresh flowers sent directly from the farm straight to you. You can shop by flower and by country of origin at flowerfarm.com and find flowers and foliage from California, Florida, Oregon, and Washington. Use the Origin selection tool in your search and check out flowerfarm.com. Thanks so much for joining us today, and thank you for listening, commenting, and sharing. It means so much as our movement gains more supporters and more passionate participants who believe in the importance of our domestic cut flower industry. The momentum is contagious. I know you feel it too. I value your support and invite you to show your thanks, support Slow Flower's ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find a donate button in the column to the right at deborahprinzing.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of the Slow Flowers Show and the Slow Flowers Podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. I'll see you next week. Thanks so much, and have